What is cloning? How far away is society's technology from creating a race of doppelgangers? As it turns out, this science fiction fantasy is much closer to reality than you might imagine. I would argue, however, that unless society reaches a consensus on the ethics and morality of the many issues associated with cloning, we might find ourselves on a slippery slope to a future of science fiction nightmare. Before anyone gets too excited or concerned about this reality, it's important to be morally aware and to know the facts. Just how close is the technology, and have we seen any reported success? According to the President's Council on Bioethics, quote, yes, though the extent to which attempts have been successful at this stage are unclear. Here are 5 ethical scenarios you might want to consider before endorsing human cloning. Number 1. Cloning someone of great virtue. One argument for advocating human cloning is that it might allow us to preserve or regenerate someone of historical significance or someone of a greater intelligence. On further examination, however, this seems to negate the role of environment on character development. As the Nobel laureate geneticist George W. Beadle asserted many years ago, who can say that in a different cultural context Einstein might not have been a political villain? A clone of someone significant becomes just another person named after someone famous. Even if we were successful in cloning someone of historical significance, the reality of this science fiction is that it would be impossible to reproduce the original environment decades later. Unfortunately, history's greatest characters will not be making a comeback anytime soon. Number 2. Who controls cloned children? As of right now, to prevent, quote, media storm, the, quote, Ethics Advisory Board insisted on procedures ensuring strict confidentiality for both egg and cell donors. Does this mean, however, that donors of genetic material are consenting, without conditions, to unlimited cloning? And what becomes of cloned offspring? Who will parent them, and in what environment will they be raised? This ethical dilemma forces us to make all sorts of new confusing considerations. If we clone a woman, the resulting child would actually be the woman's genetic sister. Will clones be allowed to have the same rights as everyday citizens? Only time will tell. Number 3. Cloning and religious controversy. Fueling the ethical debate between the mainstream religions is the lack of consensus on when life begins and ends. As Sullivan states, quote, in almost every case, the religious debate is still open-ended. Many Western religions, such as Christianity, are firm in their opposition to all cloning, while some Eastern religions, such as Buddhism, believe that cloning is consistent with reincarnation. Much of the religious debate over cloning can be traced to various beliefs about the embryo status and the afterlife. For instance, quote, most Jews and Muslims don't consider a fertilized embryo to have full human status, which essentially gives a green light to therapeutic cloning research. In a sense, the discussion of the religious ramifications of therapeutic cloning inevitably parallels the debate over stem cell research and abortion. Number 4. What will clones be used for? Another fundamental part of the debate is the question of what clones will be used for. This is an area where movie science fiction can overlay cutting-edge medical research. The possibilities can range from miraculous to truly ghoulish. For instance, should clones be used as a source of healthy transplant organs? There are many people currently die waiting on transplant lists every day. Could our government or other entity create an army of disposable clone soldiers to fight our wars? Should clones be used to test experimental drugs, treatments, or procedures? Should capitalists be allowed to create clone laborers? If so, would this be a form of New Age slave labor? These are just the few potential uses and applications of human cloning. Each of the ethical and moral issues arising from the different applications of this emerging technology will have to be debated. There are also distinct considerations regarding the individual being cloned, the actual donor of the cloned genetic material. Number 5. What about the person being cloned? Does the person cloned, if still living, retain a unique identity? Are clones themselves unique human beings? All available research suggests that we are not just biological organisms. Rather, the unique expression that is an individual's personality appears to be the result of numerous factors, including biology, environment, and upbringing. As a consequence, while clones may look like their donors, they will almost certainly behave differently. A physical copy will never replicate an adopted, evolved human consciousness. These are just a few of the many ethical and moral considerations and dilemmas associated with potential human cloning. After my extensive research, I've come to believe this topic falls in an ethical and moral gray area. The potential ripple effects of human cloning are tremendous. If minors are unable to donate genetic material because of later ethical considerations, maybe today's adults should think twice as well. Until we as a society can come to terms with many of these complex issues, perhaps we are better off with a temporary universal ban on cloning.